Heathrow Airport cuts breakouts and warns further could come. Heathrow Airport has apologized to passengers caught up in recent trip chaos but advised that further breakouts could be cancelled. The UK's largest field asked airlines to remove 61 breakouts from Monday's schedules, as it seeks to manage soaring demand and staff dearths. Heathrow's Master John Holland Kay said the field would request further action if necessary. Knockouts of thousands of UK passengers have been affected by trip dislocation. Airfields and airlines have plotted to retain staff after slipping jobs during COVID lockdowns as vacation demand has returned. The UK is about to enter the crucial summer vacation season as seminaries begin to break up. The government and the aeronautics controller wrote to carriers last month telling them to ensure their summer calendars were deliverable. Last week, British Airways said it was cutting 300 further short-haul breakouts between August and the end of October. The advertisement, affecting Heathrow, Gatwick, and City airfields, means nearly 000 breakouts will have been removed from BA's schedule between April and October this time. Heathrow apologized to passengers affected by long line times, detainments for passengers with reduced mobility, bags not traveling with passengers or arriving late, at times in recent weeks. But it claimed most passengers had a good position of service, despite resourcing challenges in the field, airlines, ground instructors, and government agencies. Mr. Holland Kay said, "I'm veritably proud of the way that our platoon is rising to the challenge of growth, and giving excellent service to the vast majority of passengers. Still, we've formerly seen times lately when demand exceeds the capacity of the field, airlines, and ground instructors. We'll review the schedule changes that airlines have submitted in response to the government's demand to minimize dislocation for passengers this summer and will ask them to take further action if necessary." Heathrow said it had asked airlines to remove 61 breakouts from Monday's schedules because further passengers are anticipated in outstations 3 and 5 than the field can presently serve. Former schedule interventions happened following problems with a baggage system, and because further passengers were anticipated than security staffing could manage. Heathrow said nearly 6 million passengers used the field in June. Another hint is that cancellations may not be over, just as the summer leaves are about to take off. Airlines say the advance cancellations they have formerly made should make the peak schedules more dependable and minimize the chances of last nanosecond dislocation. For illustration, British Airways said last week that it would take out further than 000 breakouts between August and October. It hopes that will be the last similar surge of cuts. But Heathrow is the clear moment it'll review airlines' schedule trouncing and ask them to do further if necessary. The field has formerly made a number of schedule interventions at short notice, asking airlines to remove a fairly small number of services the following day. Aviation businesses contend they are doing everything in their control to ameliorate effects, but no bone can promise a fully dislocation-free summer. Flight cancellations. The entire aeronautics sector has plotted to bounce back from the epidemic, during which it cut thousands of jobs as the assiduity ground to a halt. Now that trip has proceeded, airlines are seeking to put on nearly as numerous breakouts as they did before COVID restrictions were introduced, while numerous aeronautics businesses, for illustration, ground instructors, are chancing it delicate to rehire workers. According to aeronautics analytics firm Cerium, the number of last nanosecond flight cancellations from the UK was over 188 in June 2022, compared to June 2019 before the epidemic. Last month, the Department for Transport and the Civil Aviation Authority wrote a common letter to carriers, telling them to cancel breakouts they cannot deliver this summer. Other airlines have also blazoned cancellations over the busy summer period. Low-cost European carrier Wizz Air has said it'll reduce its peak summer flight program in trouble to avoid flight cancellations and detainments. The Hungarian airline said it would trim its capacity by a farther 5 Assiduity heads have prompted the government to allow them to retain workers from overseas as one implicit fix to staff dearths. Writing in the Sunday Times, Philip Joenig, Group Principal Superintendent of Menzies Aviation, said ministers should add aeronautics workers to the deficit occupation list as the country enters the peak trip season. Last month, it was reported that this plea had been rejected by the Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps. Trip report: British Airways Airbus A319 Club Europe Madrid to London Heathrow. Business class breakouts in Europe are frequently underwhelming. Style about BA's Club Europe from Madrid. Like numerous people, I've always been doubtful about flying Club Europe with British Airways or most European airlines. For a typically much advanced price, you get the same seating with the middle seat left empty. Yes, there's an advanced position in service and catering, but is this essential on a short flight? I had the chance to try it out for the first time post-pandemic lately, with a British Airways Club Europe connection to a long-haul Club World flight. This was a British Airways Airbus A319 operated evening flight from Madrid Barajas to London Heathrow. My overall experience was positive. While the seating and accommodations were important as anticipated, I was impressed with the ground experience and onboard service overall. A fast experience at Madrid Airport. As always, the flight experience starts at the field. With a short-haul business class flight, numerous of the benefits are set up then, and this was really the case departing from Madrid. Check-in at Madrid Terminal 4 opens 2 hours before departure for British Airways breakouts. In reality, staff arrived and opened the divisions about 20 twinkles before this. However, you have the advantage of Iberia divisions being open all day for early check heft or bag drop, if you're flying on an Iberia-operated flight. There was formerly a long standard line formed by the time check-in opened, but Club Europe has a precedence line also for on-a World status members. For further time saving, Club Europe passengers can use the precedence security lane. Again, this had an important shorter line. I was checked in through security and on the train connection to the satellite outstation just 15 twinkles after appearance. All British Airways breakouts depart from the T4 satellite terminal, habituated also for all Iberia's non-Schengen and long-haul breakouts. Use of the excellent Iberia Chesterfield. British Airways doesn't have its own Chesterfield in Madrid, it only has these in many locales outside London. Rather, Club Europe passengers and those with BA Executive Club tableware and gold status use the Iberia couches. Iberia operates 2 couches in Terminal 4. The Dolly Chesterfield is located in the main terminal and is used for European Schengen zone departures. The Velázquez Premium Lounge is in the satellite outstation. British Airways passengers can use either Chesterfield, but it's a much better idea to use the satellite terminal Chesterfield. You need to head there for the flight anyway, and it's a much larger, more equipped, and generally, quieter Chesterfield. It is, after all, the main Chesterfield used for Iberia's long-haul departures. Entry to Chesterfield is, surprisingly, through the main duty-free shop. The Chesterfield door is located right in the middle of the store, no mistrustfulness due to a deal between Iberia and the driver. It does work well, though, it's veritably accessible to wander out and pick up any purchases you want to make. Since Brexit, UK-bound passengers can buy full duty-free goods too but need to be apprehensive of import limits. I've used this Chesterfield numerous times, and it's one of my pets in Europe. It isn't the most luxurious or flashiest, but it has all the right rudiments of a great Chesterfield. It's large, open, and commodious, with colorful seating areas and types. It offers excellent runway and apron views from windows running the entire length of the Chesterfield. As it caters to long-haul breakouts, there are the plenitude of showers and indeed a rest area with blanketed off-recliners. Food and drink are all tone service. I much prefer this, there's no need to line, and you can take as important or as little as you want of different particulars. There are separate cold and hot buffets and a number of different drinks stations. This includes a lovely wine bar area at one end of the Chesterfield with several types of wine substantially Spanish, to compare. With the fast check heft, and security, I had over an hour in Chesterfield to work and enjoy some food and wine. Boarding isn't blazoned, but BA shows this in the app. Gates are close once you're in the satellite terminal, and you'll have formally cleared passport control after exiting the connecting train. The Club Europe cabin, as anticipated in Europe. I've flown in British Airways Club Europe numerous times and knew what to anticipate. The cabin on all British Airways A320 family aircraft is the same, identical rows of seating with a flexible separator to change the split between the frugality and business cabin known as Euro Traveller and Club Europe on British Airways. The only difference in Club Europe is that the middle seats are left empty, with a separator/fixed charger table. There are minimum other differences with the cabin. There's no at-seat power or Wi-Fi. The seat pitch is the same confined 30 elevation for the whole aircraft, although frontal row 1 offers further space. With smaller passengers, there should be better access to overhead space although the lockers were full by the time I boarded, and smaller passengers using the devoted restroom for the cabin. Is not the most instigative cabin, and, of course, indeed less so on the Airbus A319 with the lower cabin. On this flight, there were 6 rows being used for Club Europe. The cabin was full, but with the space handed by the empty middle seats, that makes a much lower difference than it would in the frugality. Great service bettered the experience. British Airways is one of those airlines where the onboard experience can be veritably different depending on the crew operating the flight. This flight turned out to be one of the better BA breakouts that I've endured. The food in Malaysia has bettered post-COVID. The whole mess is served on a single charger with starter, main course, and Kate. Although for short haul, this is less contentious than on long haul servicing. I chose a Thai prawn curry as a main course. The other choices were a rigatoni pasta and tomato salsa or sliced repast beef and potato salad. Portions weren't large, there were just 3 prawns in my curry, but the food was hot, delicious, and acceptable for a short flight. Service alongside this was excellent. Everyone was offered several drinks ahead, during, and after the mess, and there was someone in the cabin nearly the entire time. Some people may find this protrusive, but I allowed. That this worked nicely for an early evening flight where most people were eating and drinking. In comparison, on my outside Iberia flight before, the crew had rushed through the cabin formerly to distribute particulars and also were no way seen again. Maybe I got lucky with a good crew, but overall this was a comforting, friendly, and well-served flight. I hope it's reflective of service situations post-COVID. Time and other guests will tell.